What's happening, Chazz? How you doing tonight?
Not much, man. Long time no see. We finally back at this thing, man. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we just sometimes we have to take a couple of breaks like everyone else, so to rejuvenate. And it's really been a good thing for me as far as getting away, doing some reading and doing some research and just doing things that I have to do. So brother Kev got me back into it yesterday. And
Yeah.
then this is the second leg of a back-to-back for me. So
Don't
I'm
t-
pretty much ready to go.
don't tell me that you was asleep for them 2 weeks in that bed, bro.
No, no, no.
I know you was.
Oh, because the subject matter that we're talking about is really important. But first of all, we want to say to all of those who watch this broadcast, we truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to watch Adults Only. And we want you to know that this broadcast can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. And tonight we're going to continue our discussion on stress. In fact, as you look at the crawl, it says stress part 7, man. We've been talking about this going on almost 2 months. Isn't that something?
Man, that's crazy. I don't think we've ever did a series like this, but it shows that how severe, how serious and important this information is. But this is wonderful for us to keep harping on this topic.
Yeah, and I think even today what I'll do is we'll show some images, which are all cartoonish, but the images are of families, African-American families who are happy, because sometimes we show negativity and it's always this Debbie Downer. But even though we're talking about stress, we still want to show some great images so people can see that it actually can be done, Chaz. We can actually have some really peaceful lives, and we can endure stress if we just understand what it is and then how it affects us.
Yeah, it affects us a lot. And like I said, I was jotting down some notes before we got on today. And I was surprised at some of the effects that this stress has on us. Like it affects our sleep. It affects so many things. Our mood makes us act irrational. And I don't want to, like I said, tell too much of our notes here. But like I said, as I was writing this stuff down, it's just amazing at so much stress, how it affects the bodies in so many ways.
And I believe that we should continue to talk about this because there are so many people that don't want to talk about that which is evident. They call it the elephant in the room. Yeah. And I don't understand why this is not a subject matter that we're discussing more. I'm talking about in our homes, when we go to different places, workplaces. Why don't we like to talk about that which we know that it bothers all of us?
Because I think for us, it's a little bit embarrassing. We want most people to think that we got everything figured out. We got everything under wraps. And to tell someone, hey, this is stressing me out, or hey, I'm stressed out about X, Y, and Z. We know our colleagues and coworkers will look at us a little funny. So we'd rather just keep it to ourselves and not mention it at all because, once again, we don't want others to know when we're down and out.
Okay, well, we're going to be talking about tonight truths that happen to us when we ignore stress. We've talked about some of them in the past, but we're just going to reiterate how some things happen to us when we ignore stress, when we look away from stress, or when we act like it's not affecting us. And that's one of the things, Chaz, that I think we can discuss before we even get into some of the information about these truths. And that is this: we have ignored stress for so many years that it has gotten the best of most of us. And even to this matter, we don't call stress what it is. When someone is going through something that's stressful, we'll just say, oh, I'm just going through something. We won't say that stress is getting the better of me, or I'm dealing with so much, I don't know how to deal with it. We just like to make excuses. And those very excuses are the things that hinder us from being productive, because when stress bothers us, it does something to each of us, as we're going to talk about it tonight. And I don't know why we don't act like this is really real. We act like it's a boogeyman or something.
Yeah, it's definitely real. Like I just mentioned, it affects us in so many ways, and we're so ashamed to talk about it. And it's nothing to talk about. Like I said, me, you, we may not, we shouldn't be stressing day after day, night after night. But there are always a few moments in our life where we're constantly worrying, we're constantly thinking about something. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's just the fact that us coming out front and opening up and talking about these things, because once again, they need to be talked about.
And this is an image I want to put up that shows how we should be. And we're going to have a series of images. This is an image of a young lady, and she's just, we know it's cartoonish, but these images are going to depict how we should be. She's smiling, and it seems like she doesn't have a care in the world. But we don't oftentimes view these images because stress takes that from us. It takes the smile, it takes the glee, it takes the happiness, it takes so much away from us. And a lot of us are really fooling ourselves, Chaz. I believe we're fooling ourselves because we're ignoring stress. And instead of us looking like this young lady, we tend to have just the opposite look, which is a look of fear, a look of distress, just a look that we really ashamed of.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said we just have looks that we should really be ashamed of, but yet many of us we can't relate to this image, even though we're talking about the truths that happen to us when we are stressed. But we shouldn't be that way. We should be the way that this young lady is, which again, it shows that she's just happy-go-lucky for the most part.
Yeah, and I would think the bigger part of it is that we shouldn't let the small things get to us. I mean, we're so fragile, we're so irritable. We let the little small things get to us. And like you said, this sister here on the screen, she seems like she's got a good life going. She's not really angry or, upset about too much. And that's the way it should be. Yes, things are going to get us down. Yes, things are going to get us frustrated. But we can't let the small things always, because our day-to-day lives are consistently going to be going through little bitty things here and there, but we can't always let that get to us, especially like I keep harping on the small things. And this sister here, she's got it going on.
And even our youth, Chaz, our young men, young boys that's in the teen years, that they shouldn't always be sad and ready to explode or kill the world. There should be a look of, as we see it again, another perfect image of how we should be. We should have that kind of demeanor that life is life. Things happen to us, but we're not going to allow stress to get the better of us. But unfortunately, we don't see too many of our young boys like this because most of the time they're angry because something has happened to them in the past or because they don't get what they want or some kind of issue or excuse. But I think we got to show these images because there's nothing wrong with seeing a young African-American male like this.
Let me ask you this. Now, I should have brought this to the show. I just thought about it now, but I've seen on YouTube a lot of different news channels through different states that are complaining. I mean, not complaining. They're sounding the alarm, brother. Do you know that our children, there's an uptick in all these different states, an uptick in children's blood pressure? This is my first time hearing this. Now, I'm so used to kids being, happy-go-lucky, playing and having fun. But when I saw an uptick in these children's blood pressure, they're not specifying the number, but the doctors are coming out on this YouTube here and saying that, children, I think from the ages of like 7 and up, it's an uptick in their blood pressure. And I'm like, this is alarming because kids' blood pressure shouldn't be high the way that these doctors are proclaiming.
And that's so true what you just said. But we are under a lot of stress today, and we are ignoring the stress. And that's why the blood pressure is going up, because if we deal with the stress and we handle the stress the way we've been giving out clues and different just insights, then it still would be stressful, but it wouldn't affect us the way it's affecting us. And that's why many of our children are struggling, because many of the adults are struggling. Many of the parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, we're all struggling. And so we can't help them because we don't know how to help ourselves, because we've never had brothers and sisters to sit down like we're doing now and talk about what happens to us when we ignore stress. So that's what I'm thinking. But let's welcome some of our guests, and then we'll look at some of the truths as to what really happens to us when we ignore stress, because many of us have ignored stress for so long.
Sister Marie fires in here. She says, Hotel Brothers. We appreciate her for firing in here. Okay. And Brother Ray fires in here. He says, hello, everyone. What's up, Ray? We appreciate you for checking in.
Yeah, we got to say something to all those viewers that are faithful viewers. We really appreciate them coming out and tuning into this broadcast. It means a lot to us, Chaz.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, these podcasters, we take our viewers for granted. But, they could be doing some of anything, but they chose to take time out of their busy schedule to have a discussion about stress and how it's really been affecting us. And so we just like to take that moment to say we truly appreciate those who really watch this broadcast and those who have input, insight. That's very important, Chaz. Yeah. So let's get into some. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, I was going to say I appreciate the viewers, too, because I'm starting to notice when a lot of these podcasts and things like that, they've been on the air for, let's say, 5-10 years, and the audience gets bigger and bigger. And then sometimes they get big-headed. They start to look down on the viewers. They start to talk crap on the viewers. And then there's some who have these donations to where they're asking their people to donate to them. And when the people aren't, you're talking trash about them and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, like you just mentioned, I want to give a thanks to all the people who constantly watch the show, because like you mentioned, brother, they could be doing some of anything, but they chose to log on for an hour and listen to us, give some insight. So I appreciate that from the viewers.
Okay, let's get into the truths that happen to us when we ignore stress.
Letter A, you can't think clearly. And you can't think clearly because it shrinks the hippocampus, it slows down the prefrontal cortex, which it overstimulates the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm system, and makes it it makes it prone to stress by overreacting by a lot of threats. And I'm looking down here because those are my notes, but that's basically what I have for letter A.
Yeah, and we can't think clearly when we're stressed because it's so much on us. It's so much in our hearts. It's so much on our minds. And oftentimes we really are level-headed people, but when stress piles up on us, we really don't think clearly. And I see that even in my own life. I see sometimes my mind is not right because I'm just going through so much. The things that I would have done easily, I can't seem to do them because I have all of this baggage, all of this weight, all of this stuff is in me. And instead of me dealing with the stress, I begin to allow it to affect my thinking process. And this is why a lot of us aren't honest about it, because stress will make us not think properly. And these are the biological reasons why we should really look at stress for what it is and then be able to do what we should do. Because you mentioned something very important as far as the hippocampus and the hypothalamus. These are biological things that goes on inside of our minds, our brains, our head. And when we don't address this, even our children, Chazz, we see that we just can't think clearly.
Yeah, and it's terrible, like I said, when you add that, and I keep harping on this, but I must keep bringing this up. When you add all the radiation we're getting on a daily basis, some of the foods that we're eating, some of the things that we drink, all that's not good. And you pile all that up, plus you add stress on it, that's a recipe for disaster. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, Zuri's in the house, Hotep Kings. We appreciate her for logging in as well. We appreciate that.
Okay, Chazz, what about another truth then that happens to us when we ignore stress?
Letter B, you get irritated easily. and this releases hormones like adrenaline that makes you more prone to anger. And then also, when you already have been bottling stuff in throughout these weeks, or you're at jobs or at home or whatever, you get irritated easily because it's like you're looking for some way to vent. You're looking for some way to lash out. You're looking for some way to unload on someone, and it shouldn't be about that. So once again, you shouldn't get irritated easily, but stress will when you're constantly enduring this battle day after day and night after night.
And this is why many of us are always combative. We're always argumentative because we're really stressed and we don't look at it as stress. So we say, well, that's just how I am, but we're really not like that. This is why you can ask a person a question, and instead of getting a soothed answer, you get screamed or hollered at because that person is irritated, and you can ask them something very simple. But when they get through with what you asked them, they're hollering to the top of their lungs, having a conniption fit. And it's like that doesn't require that kind of behavior, but they're not telling you that stress is getting the best of them. And we all say the same thing about stress. Well, I don't let stress get the best of me, but we're liars.
Yeah,
we're pathological liars because stress does get the best of most of us. And this is why we get irritated easily. I mean, you see it often, especially when a gentleman has had issues at his job. He comes home and his kids just want some, family time. And he's hollering, I've been working all day. He's really angry about what happened at his job. And instead of coming home and saying, well, you know what? I've had a rough day. This is what happened to me. He's hollering, I don't want to be bothered. I just need to go in my room. No, this is the escapism that we give to people. And then many of us are silly. We go ahead along, go with it. Yep. Leave him alone. Let him go in his room. He had a rough day, instead of dealing with what is it that made your day rough.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't think that's an excuse, but that's the way we cop out and say that, like you said, because we all have hard days pretty much at our jobs. There's normally somebody that's going to make us agitated, make us angry, or get on our last nerves, but we shouldn't take that home to our family, kids, spouse, or what have you. But like you said, that's the excuse that we hear, where really this man or woman should just stop being so argumentative and suck it up.
Yeah, and be like this man and woman on the screen. I mean, again, these are images that we're showing to say how we should be. Now, we're not saying everybody's life is going to be peaches and cream. Every day you're not going to have problems. So please don't mischaracterize what we're saying. All we're saying is we want to show you some images of how it should be, a happy couple, and they do have issues. We all have our issues, but stress will get the best of us if we don't take care of what we should take care of, which is how do we deal with stress? Because if we don't, it's going to make us, as some people are saying, be irritable and angry with other people.
Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, I was unloading bags, but when I heard the conversation Big Brother was spitting, I said, oh, no layers for these bags. I need this. Okay, well, she's saying how important this show is to her, and she heard us in here running our fat mouths, and she's saying that, hey, what I got going on can wait. That can be put on the back burner. I'd rather listen to this for an hour and come back and get the groceries or bags later. So we appreciate that.
Well, your Chazz, because what we're really seeing is therapy. This is therapy for me. It's therapy for you. It's therapeutic for all those who watch this broadcast, because we're not two fly-by-nighters just up here talking, trying to get viewers and that kind of thing. We're talking about a very serious subject matter. And this is why we have to have this subject discussed, is because a lot of us have been plagued. We have been whipped. We have been beaten. We have been overwhelmed with stress. And so we want to know, okay, if stress is going to do me a certain way, I have to be able to defend myself, because a lot of us are indefensible. Stress is getting the best of us. And so that's why we got to have these kinds of discussions.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, you also have to concern yourself about becoming desensitized to an unhealthy level. Yeah, you gotta, like I said earlier, you gotta desensitize yourself to the little things. Like I said, there are major things in life that's going to get on our nerves and worry us and stress us out. But I want to highlight the word he said, desensitize. And we do need to desensitize once again to the little things that can be looked over, things that are not severe, things that are not as serious. We need to look over those things. And we appreciate his comment. Keep him coming, Ray. We got another one. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, stress, shaking my head. Me. Yet I'm going to just keep up at it, do better for myself. Okay. Well, she's saying that she's stressing as well at certain times. She's talking about herself on an individual level, taking the accountability, which she should. And she's saying she's going to work on that as well. So we appreciate her comment as well. Letter C, you lose patience with people. It disrupts your brain's ability to control impulses and makes you more emotionally reactive with high stress levels that increase the production of stress hormones like cortisol, which can lower your tolerance for frustration. And when you lose your tolerance or lower it, like I said, that's an invitation for you to start looking to lash out at people, looking to explode on the first person that looks at you the wrong way, that crosses your lane when you're driving accidentally the wrong way. All these kind of things, we shouldn't have a loose cannon mentality. But once again, we're constantly thinking about all these problems that we're having. You're going to lose patience with people because, for number one, you're going to say, I don't really feel like being bothered. And number two, I wish, like you said earlier, like the gentleman, you wish you can go home, lay in your room, and not be bothered with people. When people start talking to you, you start to lose patience.
Yeah, and I want to, maybe in the future, we want to do a broadcast that's going to tie this stress in with loss of respect. And we're not going to talk a lot about it tonight, but I honestly believe, Chazz, stress has done a major job on most of us. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of us have lost. We're so stressed out. What we do is we tend to lose respect for a person. And I've often said this, the way you tell when a person has lost respect for you, it's the way they talk to you. I'm telling you, it oftentimes tell the tale. When a person is stressed out, or when a person is going through a lot, their patience is thin, as they say. And they'll say it in a minute. My patience is thin. That means don't say anything to them. But what kind of world do we live in now where we can't even have a conversation with someone that we see every day? But once the way they answer us, that tells you they have lost respect for you. And a lot of times people don't want to hear this because they say, I haven't really lost respect for them. Then they give you an excuse why they exploded. But it's just that, no, you don't have patience, because if we had patience, we would be able to hear what that person is saying and then respond. And this is why a lot of times they'll call your name, they'll sigh. It's always like everything you say is like, if you say, well, big brother Ja, let's do this. Instead of me saying, okay, well, what are we gonna do? Before you get it out your mouth, I'm saying, oh, oh man. See, and this is a sign of disrespect. And we've got to do a broadcast about respect, because I was talking to Brother Kevin yesterday off the set, and he said the same thing about we have to do that, because we always talking about respect, but the bottom line is we've lost respect for each other. And you couple that with stress, and you got yourself a serious, serious problem.
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. Some of it, like you said, we are losing patience, but I would think the utter disrespect is, like I said, is if someone asks you, hey, big brother, do you mind pouring me some coffee in that mug? And instead of you saying, you know what, brother, I can't right now, or I'm busy, when you call him, something out of his name, like a OB or something like that, to me, that's just over the top. But like you said, some of it is just us losing patience. Sister Barbara fires back in here. She says, pushing back on you, Chazz, because you don't solve the problems of stress. Should one just look over it, deal with it? Okay, let me read this one more time slowly, brother. Pushing back on you, Chazz, because you don't solve the problem of stress. Should one just look over it, deal with it, is in my opinion. Well, I think it depends. I'll let you take it, brother, and then I'll piggyback off her comment.
Yeah, I think we all have to deal with it, but that's the point that I think I want to make. We say deal with it, but we don't know how to deal with it. Because, and I'm not saying that she's saying that, but I'm saying when we say I'm going to deal with whatever it is or whatever's going on, we deal with it. And she's right. We should never overlook it. Right. But then, even though we may not overlook it, how do we deal with stress? See, that's the problem and the question that has to be answered. How do we actually deal with stress? Just by saying deal with it. That's not dealing with stress. That's just saying deal with stress.
It just dawned on me. I think I remember what she's talking about here. When I was saying overlook the stress or the small, I was saying the small things. For example, if you have something that needs to be vacuumed in your house, I'm just making something a small example. If you need to get a certain area in the house vacuumed and it's not done in a certain time, okay, you could eventually get that done. That's not that severe of a problem. What I was saying that's the little petty things you should overlook. Now, if there's stress, like as far as you got to be at someone's funeral or something like that, now that's severe. You want to be there on time. I get stuff like that. I was saying overlook the small things in life, like or vacuum in a room or something like that, because that can always be done compared to some of the bigger things that are more severe. That was what I was trying to clear up, but I think I get what she's trying to say. Brother Ray Fires back in here again. He says, to get respect, you must give it. And that's absolutely true. I mean, a lot of people.
Yeah, we must be having some technical
society. They want respect. They want you to look at them as this they own a 504 company or all these kind of things. But like he said, you have to give it. You should respect everybody. But like this brother keeps harping on, if you want respect, you got to give it, and that's so looked over in this society, in today's society.
Yeah, and then there's something we're talking about today. We're talking about stress, but I did mention the respect. So Brother Raymond put his information on the screen. And I just want to say that I understand what he's saying in context. People that we know, to get respect, you must give it. But if I saw you on the street and you look like me, I'm going to give you respect because you're me. See, you don't have to give me anything. And I know what he's saying in a relationship or those who are close. He's absolutely right. But then there's a part of this thing that I would like to say is, no, you don't have to get respect. You got to give it, because if I walk up to you and we're at the mall and you say, what's going on, brother? And I say, how you doing? That's respect. If you say, what's going on, brother? And I put my head in the sky like I'm better than you, or I say, man, who you talking about, you in? See, that's what I'm saying. This is when we're talking about what stress does to us and how when you talk about what respect we've lost respect because we're so stressed out. See, and that's the point that I was trying to make. And I think it's important that we realize that when we talk about stress. So
I
not
think.
only, go ahead, Chazz.
Oh yeah, I was just going to add to Ray's comment. I was saying I think he's right about the respect, and I think that's more the way I see it. A lot of these owners and executives and these general managers of some of these companies, those are the ones that I really think that applies to, because they think they have their executive, their GM. Some of these people don't know how to talk to people. They treat people terrible, and then they want respect. And then when that person lashes out, which they shouldn't, but when they lash out, they want to say, "Well, why aren't you respecting me?" Well, you've been treating me like this all this time. What do you expect? But I kind of think that's what Ray was getting at.
And I get it.
That, though.
Yeah, I get it. Because that's exactly where I'm coming from too.
Okay. I think we already answered this one, brother. Okay. Letter D. Your mood drops and sadness grows. Chronic stress can cause inflammation in the brain and disrupt communication between the brain cells. Psychologically, it can disrupt healthy routines and lead to negative coping mechanisms. Now, when it says your mood drops, that's the last part I was talking about. When you start coping with negative things, you start drinking more, you start smoking more, start going to the clubs more, staying late out at night more. You start doing all these things more and more because your mood is dropped. You're sad. You're looking for a way out. You're looking for an adventure. You're looking for something to cope with. And once again, I think when your mood drops, that goes hand in hand with some of the negative vices that we turn to because we're looking for some kind of way out of the situation because we're already stressed on top of that.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times you see a person that's happy for like 5 seconds and then they can change just like that. And, we like to try to use biological words and say that they're chemically imbalanced and all of that. But what it is that person is stressed out. They don't realize it, or they realize it, but they don't know how to do anything about it. So therefore, their mood drops and they become sad. It's like all of a sudden you were just happy 10 minutes ago. And now you're just like at the lowest part of the day of your life when nothing really happens. And so that's something that we have to look at. Is stress that has us like that, that can make us flop and flip so fast. Instead of looking at what's really going on, we like to blame different excuses as to, well, why did their mood drop? We'll say different words to try to make that person feel good.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says escapism to the point where Good Time Charlie has the blues.
that was a song that we grew up with, Ray and I. There was a song, and at the end of the chorus, it would say, Good Time Charlie has the blues. And it's right, because Good Time Charlie does have the blues. But you know what the blues is? The blues would be Good Time Charlie is stressed. I mean, that's what it is. We call it the blues, but Good Time Charlie is stressed to the max. And that's what the problem is, man.
Okay, yeah, that one went over my head because I was going to say I hadn't heard that song before, but I figured he was joking around with you there. So appreciate his comment. Letter F, your immune system weakens. You get sick more. It releases hormones like cortisol. With high cortisol levels can lead to decrease in lymphocytes, which this is the white blood cells that are crucial for fighting off infections. So once again, you add that, and you know me, and I know some people are going to give me heat for this, but when you add all that to what I just said, and you're not taking your vitamins, you're not taking your water, you're not doing these supplements, that's a recipe for disaster. It's going to weaken the immune system, especially when you start talking about those white and red blood cells. When that stress starts kicking in, man, that is something that you don't want to see. And like I said, you couple that with the fact of not taking those supplements. And the winter time is here too, by the way. So like I said, you're asking for your immune system to get weak.
And here is a gross ignorance on most of our behalf. Here's a gross ignorance. The gross ignorance is this. We never tie stress with getting sick. We never tie stress in our immune system weakens. Whenever we get sick, we always try to look for the reason, but we never look at stress. That's the last thing that we say. We get sick, and it's like we're stressed because your immune system is weak, and all types of things come in your system and get you sick. But instead of us saying, I'm stressed, we'll say, well, I didn't do this, or I didn't do such and such a thing, or I did do such and such a thing. That's why I'm sick, as opposed to saying, no, It could be because we're stressed out, and that weakens the immune system. And that's that gross ignorance that I'm talking about that we all have, because we don't like to say we're sick because we're stressed. We want to say we're sick because we didn't wear a coat and it was kind of chilly outside, or we didn't take our vitamins, which is some of that could be true, Chaz. Some of it could be true. But for the most part, we're talking, it's the stress, man.
I want to harp back on that real quick about
Okay.
the immune system. Like I said, because I know it's cold and stuff now, but I know people are going to give me heat for this, and someone has already told me on this broadcast before, oh, you got a vitamin for everything. That vitamin ain't going to save you. But you have to take some kind of supplements. It's getting cold, and in certain states, it's snowing. You can't get out of your driveway. And I keep harping on this immune system. Not that I have all the answers, but I think it would be foolish for an adult to walk around and not take any vitamins at all, knowing that they're going to help benefit you to some degree with this winter kicking in and this cold in certain states. You must take these vitamins to get that immune system strong and firing away like it should be.
Yeah, and that's why stress keeps up. It keeps us up because the stress has crept into our lives, and that's what happens to us. And here's another point that you want to make.
Letter G, your sleep gets worse. Stress activates the body's fight or flight response that releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This increases alertness and it elevates the heart rate, and it keeps the mind racing, which makes it difficult to sleep. So when your mind is constantly racing, you're constantly thinking about all these problems that you're going through. You're thinking about tomorrow, what kind of issues you're going to get the next day or the day after. That's going to keep your mind racing. That's going to keep you stressing. That's going to keep you tossing and turning, nightmares, trying to take all these pills to go to sleep. You can't go to sleep because probably 9 times out of 10, those cortisol levels are out the roof, and you can't deal with it.
That's true. And a lot of times we'll say, I can't get any sleep. And then we'll blame the reason, well, because I stayed up last night or whatever the case is. No, it has to do with stress, Chaz. See, we don't like to call a spade a spade. We make up all kinds of excuses as to why our sleep is getting worse. And it's not so much that we can't get any sleep, but when we do get some sleep, it's some terrible sleep because we wake up and it's like we really didn't get any sleep because our mind have been working all night. Our mind has been working all night thinking about something that we probably can't control, and it goes over and over. We play out the scenario. What could have happened? What should have happened? What would have happened? And that's like this mental abuse that we put on our own selves, and that's why we can't get any sleep.
Brother Ray Fires in here. We appreciate this. He says, I was stressed out today. A few months ago, I had to buy a new tire because a metal object pierced the sidewall of my tire. So today, I found out I got a nail in my tire. I know how that is, Brother Ray. It sounds like you're talking to me too, because I'm constantly going to get air in my tire. I'm always getting objects in it. But this brother here said that he was frustrated because he had a object in his tire and it stressed him out. He's upfront. He's honest. He's saying, look, this is something that happened in my daily life. I was stressed out about this tire, but he took care of it and he got it diagnosed immediately. And now the problem, I'm hoping, will go away, but he's up front too. And that's one thing I like about this broadcast. A lot of people are putting their own problems on Front Street. A sister commented about her issue. Ray's commented about his issue. I'm talking about mine. That's what this is about. And he's saying that he was stressed earlier today, and hopefully he's got that taken care of. We appreciate his comment.
Yeah, and he owned up to it. See, many of us don't like to say we're stressed. We say, "Oh, you stressed?" "Oh, no, I ain't stressed." But you are. So, you have to be honest about it, because who are you fooling in the end? You're fooling your own self.
Right. Letter H, your body feels tense or tight. You have hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that causes muscles to tighten up when stress is chronic. The muscles become guarded, and this becomes constant. This gives constant leading to pain in areas like the neck, the shoulders, and the back. Now, a lot of us, and I talked about this too, sometimes when people work out, the muscles are sore. But if you feel like you've worked out and you didn't, and that's like you said, back pain, shoulder, elbow pain, 9 times out of 10, that's because you're stressed. I mean, our bodies are reacting to this saying, look, the cortisol levels are out the roof. I can't cope with this. So the body starts tensing up. And that's why some people, they spend money and they go get these professional massages and stuff done on their backs and their shoulders and things like that. That's because some of the stress that they're enduring on their jobs, at home. And these muscles are tightening up, saying, look, I can't function like this. So you have to get the body under control so our muscles and stuff don't lock up on us.
You know, Chaz, I'm going to say something now that I've been thinking about, and I think this is true, but I'm going to share it with you, and you tell me if it's true when it comes to your body feels tense or tight when you're stressed. Many of the fights that happens in clubs, and a lot of it has to do with alcohol, so let's not throw that out the window. But I mean, a lot of times we get together and there's no alcohol involved. We could just get together as a group of men, but there's always some type of argument or fight. And instead of us looking at the reason that we're fighting all the time, is a lot of it is because we're stressed out. And so all it takes is for someone to say something to us that normally they would have said that we would have overlooked. But now we want to fight because we're stressed out. Or we go to a club to have a good time. Somebody looks at us, they look at us side eye. And instead of us saying, okay, well, they're just looking at us, we want to fight because we're really stressed out. And instead of saying, hey, why did they get into it? Well, because so-and-so did something. No, it's because one of them was pretty much stressed out and they were uptight. You know, they were tense, like we said earlier, and they were the type of person that they didn't have the patience. And so this is why they actually got into it. And we have to, tell it like it is.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000% on that. As we proceed to letter I, it says you forget things more easily. And this, and I keep harping on this, the release of cortisol impairs the brain's ability to form, store, and to retrieve memories. Elevated cortisol can damage the hippocampus elevated cortisol levels can damage the hippocampus, and this is the brain's memory center. So if you could put that thing back on the screen, the talking point.
Okay.
Letter I believe. Not that one. It was letter I. Okay, yeah, there we go. You forget things more easily. And like I said, it goes back to the cortisol levels. Like I said, when these cortisol levels are high, it inflects. I mean, it does so much to the body, especially to the brain. It's making us so stressed out that we're forgetting things more easily. We can't remember where we put our car keys. We can't remember where certain things are around the house. So with that being said, you got to get those cortisol levels in check, because if you don't, once again, you're going to be forgetting things easily. And then this ties into with dementia. I would say Alzheimer's. A lot of us are forgetting these things so easily. And I would say that dementia and Alzheimer's kind of go hand in hand with this as well. Would you agree?
I agree with you 100%. I'm just looking at this family in the back. Now, we know this is an image, but when we get together as a family, we never leave like that. And every now and then, I know there's going to be issues, but instead of us smiling like this and everybody's happy, if somebody did something to make someone angry because someone was stressed out, someone didn't want to hear somebody's problems, and instead of this picture being this way, it's always the opposite. So I'm trying to show that we can actually do it, even though they all have problems and issues, I'm sure, because that's what life brings. But at least you can, at moments, get with your family and just have a good time, man. You should be able to have a good time instead of always, leaving angry with someone because someone either said something or looked at you a certain way or did something to you that you didn't appreciate. When you think of it, it's probably something minor. But because you're tight, you're tense, you're so stressed out, you don't know that that's why you're acting that way, because you're actually stressed and you won't be honest about what's really going on.
Yeah. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, no, I didn't get it taken care of today. I have an appointment to get it done tomorrow, and they're charging me $30 just to plug the tire. I went to 2 air pumps at the gas station to try to fill it with air, and both of them didn't work and took my money. Okay, I apologize for misreading it. But he said he's going to get it taken care of. And I understand how that is, man. Some of these jackleg places, they want to up the ante and overcharge people for tires and things like that. But he said he's going to get it fixed. And we hope you get it fixed, Ray, so you can get back on the road moving with your vehicle. Letter J, you start avoiding responsibilities. Yeah, you start avoiding responsibilities because you're saying, look, I've already got enough problems in my life. I don't need anything else bother me. I don't need anything else worrying me. I want to just go away and not be bothered. And in fact, when I see that I keep putting these issues off, or if I keep avoiding these responsibilities, they start to pile up. So you've avoided it for about a week, and now sometimes deadlines are here. And now that this deadline is here, you're getting angry and you're avoiding it more and more. So all this is doing, when you compound all this, it's just shooting the cortisol levels up, and it's stressing you out more and more.
I have nothing to say on that, Chazz. That was definitely well said.
Letter K. You lose interest in things that you used to enjoy, stressed or depressed. I would circle or highlight depressed because I hear that a lot. People who used to have an interest in drawing, an interest in painting, an interest in maybe watching movies or what have you. And when you start to lose interest in those things, where you start to despise it, or you just don't feel like doing it anymore, you don't have any joy, you don't have any kind of love in doing it, that means you're depressed. And 9 times out of 10, if you're depressed, if you're looking at a person's life, somewhere on the line, that man or that woman is stressed out about something. And they may not admit it, but they have to be stressed to be depressed about something.
Yeah, and you can tell because all you have to do is be around the person for a long time, and that which they love, they lose an interest in it, and they'll blame the reason as to why they lost interest, but they won't say, well, because they're stressed, because that's what stress will do to you. It'll zap all of the creativity out of you. That stress does that to us. And oftentimes, instead of us looking at why is it that I don't like to do what I used to do, we have to investigate our own hearts and say, there's something that's bothering me to the degree. And stress has a hold on us. It has a major hold on us. And because we don't know how to deal with it, and because we don't talk about it, it gets the best of us. And a lot of times, even with our children, we don't sit down at our dinner tables or our breakfast tables and talk to them about what stress does if we don't take care of it. And that's what's so sad about it.
Yeah, it really is. Brother Ray says, I hate Christmas.
Well, no, I'm gonna piggyback on that, because I'm gonna tie that into what we're talking about. These so-called holidays, Thanksgiving, so-called Easter, Christmas, these days bring stress. So that's what he's saying. It brings stress to a lot of people, because I gotta buy 25 presents for people that purchased presents for me last year, and my present that you got me last year wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. So I'm gonna give you something cheap. Then you're gonna be angry, and then you're gonna start trouble with me because you didn't like what I gave you. Oh, I forgot to buy so and so something, and they've been good. So these are the most stressful times. If you look at the statistics, the suicide rate goes up high during these days, because some people can't buy their kids what they want. Then we walk around telling these grown people, your kid is not going to have a good Christmas. So that stresses the parent out, because they're trying to gift this kid all of these presents when he's right. A lot of people hate these days because they know what's coming. They know what's coming, and he's right when he say that, because that these days, man, and that's why I don't get, and I'll turn it over to you, because what I don't get is this. They say these are the days or the times that you should be giving. We also say this is the reason for giving. We also say that everybody's nice during November and December, but then come January, it's back in the saddle again. Now we're mean as rattlesnakes. We're not like this gentleman here who says, hey, you know what? He has a good attitude. No matter what he's going through, he's still keeping, his decorum. And that's the problem with us, because we're so circumstantial. And that's why, like Raymond is saying, people hate these days, man, because that's something that really bothers people.
Brother Ray Fars in here. He says, the only holiday I celebrate is Mother's Day. I was going to piggyback off his previous comment, and then I get into this one where he was saying he doesn't like Christmas. And I don't really like the holidays either, because like Christmas and the New Year's and stuff like that, you got all this traffic, people driving crazy, trying to get to these stores to get all these items. And here's the thing, like you mentioned, once these people get to the store and they get the items, they're stressed out because, like you mentioned, brother, they trying to buy all these gifts for all these people. They're hoping that the people like them. And then if they buy something that they thought the person would have liked, the person responds back, well, I wasn't really feeling that, and you know me better than that, and you should have got me something more up to date. And this is all kind of stress that it causes us. And once again, these stores are a disaster. Trying to get some grocery and stuff out of these stores around this time, I mean, I would say going in when the store is open if you can, but it's just a zoo on these holidays, and I really despise it. as well, because like you said, people are happy now, and then once January comes, when those bills and stuff start kicking in and they start seeing all this stuff that they loaded up on, now they got to pay the piper, and they don't want to do that. Brother Ray Fire's back in here. He says, I get sick of hearing the same Christmas carols every year. Me too. And I got these little this little lobby music at my job, and it's these little cheesy Santa Claus, Santa and the reindeer. I get tired of hearing that garbage too, man. And I don't despise people who celebrate it. If that's what you do, that's what you do. But like I said, it's a zoo trying to drive and just get around and just do your everyday routine, because the traffic and stuff is outrageous around this time of year.
Yeah, now he said he gets sick and tired, or he gets sick of hearing the same Christmas carols every year. And I know he has some smiling emojis, but let me tell you what I get sick and tired of. I want to tie this into our broadcast. I get tired of adults teaching children every year about a tree and about presents, that subliminally it goes into the child's heart. As the child grows up, the child duplicates what it sees. And so just like the parent is stressed, the child becomes stressed as a young adult. Then when the child gets older, the child repeats the same process and teaches other children, their children and grandchildren, when they get older. So the process never stops. So he gets sick of hearing Christmas carols, and I get that. I get sick of us teaching these kids this stress that is given to us. I get sick of them keeping the same thing every year. They keep the same mess going on, and it's like it's got to stop. And they don't realize, but all we're doing is making these kids prime candidates for stress when they become older.
Yeah, and then some of them get angry when they find out that, Santa Claus isn't real, and those gifts that they thought were from Santa Claus is really from the parents. They get angry and bitter. But maybe we may have to do something on holidays, brother, because it seems like we're getting a lot of comments about holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving and all this kind of stuff. So maybe in the future we may have to do something about that. Letter L, it says, you want to be left alone. Yeah, you do want to be left alone, because you're tired of thinking about all the stuff that's stressing you out. You're tired of being bothered. You're tired of people contacting, calling, emailing, or even leaving voicemails on your answering machine. And you say you've had enough for the day. You've worked. Your kids are probably driving you insane. You don't want to be bothered with anybody. You just want to be left alone. And like this picture here, it looks like the wife and husband are having a good time. They're dancing. The kids are happy. I mean, they're all having a good time. And that's the way we should be in life.
Right. And you notice it's not any bottles or anything that in their hands, because we can't have a good time without all of that. And that's stressful too, Chazz. Wanting to be left alone is a sign of a person who's stressed. We're not talking about a person who works hard and they just trying to get rest, because once they get their rest, they get up and they do what they normally do. But we're talking about a person who always wants to isolate themselves. They don't want to be bothered. They really would like to be left alone. But what they don't realize is that they're suffering. And they're suffering from chronic stress. And instead of talking about it, they just would rather be alone. And this is what is happening. So then it becomes a problem where this is their lifestyle. It's become a lifestyle of just being by oneself. And that's a pitiful lifestyle to have.
Yeah. Brother Ray Fire's in here. He says, I told my children, if it wasn't no Santa Claus, I was the only person buying the presents, and it pissed my mother off when my ex-wife told her that I told him that. Well, he told them the truth, and that's what it should be. I mean, you should tell these kids the truth, because once they get older, they find out, like I just mentioned, that there are no Santa Claus. They get angry at the parents, but Ray's up front, and he told them up front who was getting the presents, and we appreciate his honesty for that. Letter M. You have trouble making decisions. Yeah, a lot of people do, because they got so much on their mind, they got so much on their plate, and they're trying to say, okay, I need to make a rational decision, but I can't, because I got all these issues bogging me down. I got all this chaos bogging me down. I got all this drama and just all this chaos on me. I'm having a hard time making good decisions. In fact, we start making terrible decisions when we're stressed, because we're not thinking clearly. We're not thinking logically. We're just doing anything to get that decision off of our minds instead of making good decisions.
And if you think about it, Chazz, the 4 words that we hear every now and then, like What do you think? That's the 4 words. What do you think? Every now and then, that's a good thing to say to someone that you respect and you value their opinion. But every 5 seconds, when someone's asking you, what do you think? In other words, they want you to think for them because they're having trouble making decisions. That's all it is. They're stressed to the degree that they don't know how to make a simple decision. And so they ask everybody else, what do you think? What would you do? How does this look? How does that sound? How does that feel? It's always somebody else. In basically this, because their amygdala is stuck again, and because they don't really know what to do, and they've allowed stress to put them in that situation instead of making a simple, because some of the decisions are just simple, Chazz. They're just simple decisions, but they keep asking, what do you think? What do you, how, you know, and it's like they have to get somebody else's permission, but you're grown though, or you know, you let people make your decisions for you. That's a sign of a person who's stressed.
Letter N, your eating habits become unhealthy. That's true. They call it binge eating or stress eating, where you have all these problems on you. Now, it's okay to get snacks and stuff here and there, but like you said, when we come home and we're just eating a whole box of donuts, or we're eating a whole bag of Doritos chips, that's not good. It's okay to have snacks, but like I said, our eating habits become unhealthy because we're trying to calm the pain, ease the pain. We're looking for a way out. And so our way out is, like I said, eating unhealthy, going to these restaurants like Golden Corral, these China Harbor buffets, and just pigging out there and laughing at the table because we done ate 10 or 12 plates. I mean, that's when our eating habits become unhealthy, because we're looking for a way out.
Instead of us enjoying this picture, knowing that these people have things in their lives that may cause stress, but look at their picture, that this is a beautiful picture. Steve Harvey has a game show, and it's
Oh,
well, no, Chaz, let me work with this, because in a sense, the game show, the name of the game show is what's really going on in real life, because we're so stressed out. And the name of that game show, for those who don't know, is called Family Feud. Most of our families are feuding every day. The cousin's angry with the other cousin, the sister's angry with the brother's angry with the other brother, the sister's angry with the sisters, the niece's angry with the auntie, the uncle's angry with the nephew. I mean, it's really Steve Harvey, even though that's a game show that's been out for a long time, the name of it is really true in many of our lives because we're stressed out. It's called Family Feud, and we feud. Now, we have fun with the game, you know, the top 10 answers and all that. That's fun. But in reality, we are feuding because we're so stressed. And this is why we're eating, and our eating habits become very, very unhealthy.
Letter O, your energy levels drop. I'll let you take that one, then I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, your energy level drops because you don't feel like doing anything. Stress has done so much to us, the African American man, woman, boy, girl. It has done so much to us. And instead of us owning up to the fact that we're stressed out, we sit around and we're just sad. We're sullen. You know, we're sulking. We're drained. We just don't have any energy, man. We don't want to do anything but just eat and go to sleep and wake up and eat and go back to sleep and then wake up and eat and go back to sleep. And the cycle, it repeats itself and it never stops. And we don't realize, like this brother on the screen here, you know, we just don't want to we don't want to do anything, man. And that's a sign of our energy. It's low, man. It's low. You can drink all the orange juice you want. You know, I can take all the vitamin D3 I want. It's not going to help because the stress has done a number on us. And that's why a brother will sit around looking sad. And when there's maybe nothing even wrong with them. They're just stressed out and don't know how to deal with that stress.
Yep. And I hate to keep, and you know, I'm a stick, and I keep saying this. I hate to keep going back to this about the energy levels, but sometimes when you're not taking enough vitamin D3, your energy levels will drop. But other than that, as it ties to this, yeah, the stress levels can make a person depressed, not want to do much. They normally are a high vibrant person, and they like to do a lot of things, go out and, you know, mingle with the people outside or go to the malls and have a good time. But once again, when that stress gets to you and you've had enough, like this brother here on this picture, you just want to sit in the corner and just sulk. You don't want to answer your phone. You don't want to answer emails. You're stressed out. And it's sad to see a picture like this brother here on the screen. But that's what stress will do to you. It'll just have you just not want to do much, have the curtains closed and the lights off, and just not want to do anything.
You also find it hard. This is one of the notes too that we have. You find it when you're stressed out, you find it very hard to get along with others.
Yeah.
And we can't get along with anyone. It's always something. And this is a sign of a person who's stressful. Everywhere they go, it's always someone else's fault. It's always someone else who ticks them off. They never have a good day to where they don't allow things to bother them. It's always the next man or the next woman's fault. It's their family's fault. It's their relatives' fault. It's their friends' fault. It's their enemy's fault. It's always something, man. And all of that boils down to that person is probably dealing with so much stress, they don't see it. So they look to lash out. And this is why it's hard and difficult to get along with other people. I don't want to get along. They don't even want to get along like this family shows. Sure, this is an image. But what's wrong with us having a family like that where everybody's happy? What's wrong with us being this way instead of going back to the Steve Harvey family feud concept? What's wrong with us having pictures like this and mean it? What's wrong with the sisters being happy and the brothers being happy and the whole family being happy in spite of what they're going through? We have some serious problems because we don't want to face the stress that has gotten the best of us. So that's why it is the way it is, Chaz.
Yeah, and like you said, I appreciate the new we're trying to bring some brightness and stuff to the show. I appreciate the new anime characters that you got on the show and got the look like the AI going on, but that's pretty good, the new pictures and stuff we got here. Brother Ray Fires in here. He says stressing over a pretty image. Yeah, some of us are obsessed with the way we look. We're trying to be perfect with our looks.
Petty. I think he said petty, Chaz. I think he says petty.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he said pretty image because I was going to go on a rant.
He's going back on that whole Christmas thing, those images that we get, Santa Claus and so-called Christ. These are the images that we stress over. So, yeah, this is what he's talking about. Then he also gives one with the whole Steve Harvey thing. And I'm just really talking about the game.
Bro, you always messing with Steve Harvey.
But see, that's just it, because you guys are mischaracterizing me tonight. If you listen to what I said nothing about Brother Steve Harvey. I talked about Family Feud. Because when you put it in its context, it's us families that are feuding. So I was giving him props because that show that he does is called Family Feud, and that's what we're doing. We're stressed though. So
no, I said we normally bring him up a lot on this show. We normally are slamming Steve.
No, bro, no, that's you. That's you doing that. I don't have a problem with the brother. He's like everybody else. He's trying to do the best he can. He's trying to make a living for his family. It's just that sometimes when things go down, we have to call him out. But as far as a person, I think that show he does is a decent show. It's a fun show. It's a game show. It's a learning experience. Sometimes it's foolishness. It's silly, but it's just showing how, people are trying to, do what they need to do on a game show to make the world go wrong, I guess. But yeah, we got to get ready to wrap it up, Chaz, because we have a couple of minutes left. And
I was going to ask you.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you real quick. Sorry for cutting you off. What's the topic next week? Is it this again or something new, or what's the topic?
Well, look, we got a few days to think about it. But Ray says, "Don't give Steve Harvey props." He's laughing, but it's like it's true. I mean, we all are people, man. But the bottom line is, when it comes down to it, I don't have anything personal. I don't even know the brother. If I saw him at Walmart, I'd probably run up to him and say, "What's happening?" I don't care about him that way. It's just that none of these people I know. But I go back to the show that he's hosting. That Family Feud is us to a T, man, because we're stressed. That's why we're feuding, is because we're stressed. So I'm going to go ahead. We got about a minute or so. So I'll let you close us out as you normally do, Chaz, and then I'll just I'll get out of here because I think you need to talk to the people. And next week we may come back with this stress, or we may come back with something new. But we appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight to this broadcast. You just don't know how much that means to us. We don't take you for granted ever, but we're talking about stress. I hope you've learned something over the last 2 months, but I'm going to let Chaz take us home. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all next week, next Wednesday at 6:00 Central Standard Time. So, Chaz, you can go ahead and take us home. Y'all have a good time. I'll check with y'all later.
All right. Appreciate you for having me on. But tonight was an interesting broadcast about stress. How stress causes certain aches and muscle tension in the body. Our shoulders, our back gets tense. Our neck gets tense. Our knees and stuff start to ache. Also, how stress causes us to overeat because we're looking for a way out. We're looking for some kind of hope. We're looking for something that could make us feel better about our day-to-day lives that we're stressed about. how stress makes us depressed, not want to be bothered, not want to go outside, not making us want to be cordial or to even talk with people because we're just frustrated with life. And this isn't the way to be. We all have stress. But the point is, you shouldn't dwell on it. You shouldn't keep harping on it day after day, night after night. Think about it for a little bit, then let it go. And then we are looking at Brother Ray's comment. He says, Black Power. We appreciate you, Ray, for logging in. We hope to see you next week. But yes, stress is something that we all are going through. We shouldn't be dwelling on it. And once again, this is something that I'm fighting as well. Not that I'm stressed out constantly, but from time to time, they pop in my head too. I'm not perfect. And we have to let these things go and start learning how to do things that are healthy, that will help us alleviate the stress, which can be exercising, reading, etc. I appreciate everybody for logging in. I hope to see you guys next week. And I appreciate Big Brother for having me on. Take care.